Today, I'm reviewing the Noble FoKus Apollo Premium Wireless Headphones. Let's get it. What's cracking, audio fans? It's David here from Prime Audio Reviews. So what makes a headphone premium? Well, in this case, for a start, the price, which is $649 US. Not for the faint of heart. I know we're getting up there in price, but this is what they look like. We'll come back to those in a minute because I want to show you the case. You get a lovely case. It looks just like that. And inside, it looks like that. And yeah, you get a boom mic, detachable boom mic with these headphones. And in here, we've got two cables. There's a USB-C to USB-C cable. And then there is a 3.5mm to 3.5mm auxiliary cable for wired listening. So yeah, really nice case, very premium feel. Let's have a look at these headphones now. They feel amazing in the hand. Like, yeah, they feel definitely expensive when you hold them like that. On the underside of the headband here, we've got Alcantara, which is, if you're not familiar, it's a beautiful soft fabric. Then we've got, unfortunately, faux leather or protein leather earpads. They're not genuine leather, so I don't know how they'll hold up. I expect they will deteriorate and disintegrate after about maybe 2 years or so. We will find out, but these earpads are replaceable. You can pop these off. They just sort of click off, and you get the new ones which have the mount attached to them, and you click them in. I'm not going to take it off right now because you kind of need something like a credit card or a guitar pick to wedge in there to pop them off. I guess I should mention what's inside because it's pretty rare and unique. We've got a 40mm dynamic driver in charge of the bass, so you get that nice dynamic driver bass impact. And that's paired with a 14.5mm planar magnetic driver, which obviously takes care of the mid-range and the treble. So that's a pretty unique setup. How does it sound? We'll get to that. We haven't finished with the build yet. So you can see they're a little bit chunky. They're kind of wide. So they do look a little bit goofy on your head if you're worried about, you know, how cool you look when you wear headphones. They might not be the best choice. But the frame is this lovely anodized aluminium with matching material on the ear cups there. Fantastic. The build feels really nice. There's a good range of adjustment there. The ear cups rotate 180 degrees, which is awesome. It means with they're hanging around your neck, you can sit them on your neck, or you can take them off and place them easily on the table like that. In terms of features, we've got active noise cancelling, Bluetooth 5.3, which supports LDAC, aptX, you know, AAC, SBC, all that good stuff, and a really super impressive battery life. We're looking at 80 hours of non-stop playback time with ANC off, and with the ANC on, you're still getting a very respectable 60 hours. So battery life is a major selling point of these headphones. So the ANC, or the active noise cancellation, it works pretty good on these. It's also got an ambient mode. They've got good passive noise isolation too. So that, in combination with the ANC, means you can have relatively distraction-free listening. Now there are actually 3 different ways you can connect. You can connect to these headphones, either via Bluetooth, via the USB-C to USB-C cable. You can plug these into a laptop or a PC. And finally, the third option is using the 3.5mm auxiliary cable, in which case, well, you can plug them into anything with a 3.5mm socket, but they do require quite a bit of driving power when you do that. So I would definitely recommend you do need some amplification, definitely. Now the sound quality is pretty uniform across all 3 connection modes as well. The Bluetooth and the USB Type-C connection, they're basically almost indistinguishable. Of course, you get a slightly better quality with the wired connection, but the wireless audio is fantastic, especially if you are using LDAC. I found with the 3.5 aux cable. The sound wasn't quite as dynamic. It was a little bit more diffuse sounding, if that makes any sense. The bass doesn't kick quite as hard. And I showed you that microphone before. You don't have to use that. There's also got onboard microphones, which are, the call quality is actually pretty good with the built-in mics or the onboard mics, but you definitely get a better experience with the detachable boom mic. I'll give you an example of that here. By 6000 BC, Greater Australia is no more. 1/7 of its land, about 2.5 million square kilometres, has been drowned by the sea. Tasmania, once a southern peninsula, is now an island whose Aborigines have lost all contact with those on the mainland. By 6000 BC, Greater Australia is no more. 1/7 of its land, about 2.5 million square kilometres, has been drowned by the sea. Tasmania, once a southern peninsula, is now an island whose Aborigines have lost all contact with those on the mainland. Okay, I think I've covered all the stuff pretty much. So let's get into the sound now and just put those down there so you can see that lovely crown. There's one more thing I have to mention before we get into that. There is also an app available. It's the Noble FoKus app, available for Android and iOS. And within the app, you can select from 6 preset EQs, or you can make a custom EQ. So that's pretty awesome. And you can update the firmware as well. So it's a really good app. But enough with all that sound time. And look, the FoKus Apollo has got a vivid, engaging sound signature. And it's kind of characterized by a healthily boosted bass, fairly neutral mid-range, and an energetic, airy treble. This doesn't cater to people looking for completely neutral or transparent sound. Instead, it's a bit more aggressive or vigorous. In other words, it's slightly colored. So not complete transparency or neutrality there. But the first things that grabbed my attention were the bass and the sheer width of the soundstage. The bass is definitely boosted. We're talking well north of neutral here. It's both dynamic and punchy bass. Noble has clearly tuned both the mid bass and the sub bass for impact, which makes these sort of, very engaging to listen to. As you'd expect from a headphone at this price point, that extra oomph in the bass, it doesn't really come at the cost of control. Like, it's got an excellent dynamic driver. The bass remains nice and tight, well defined, despite that sort of exuberant quantity of bass that you're getting. And of course, if you do find the bass too forward, or if there's too much bass for your liking, you can just go into the app if you're listening on Bluetooth and just EQ some of that bass out. But the bass isn't the only thing that impressed me right off the bat. The soundstage, I was like, oh my goodness, the soundstage is wide, legitimately wide, especially for a closed back headphone. Sounds extend well beyond the periphery of my headspace. It's like truly distinct stereo separation. So if there's elements recorded in the left and right stereo channels, you distinctly hear them. They are so separated. You're like, holy moly. And that's obviously fantastic for music, but it's also really great for gaming as well, as you can probably imagine. The stage also has good forward depth and pretty good height as well, which places you right in the thick of the music or the battlefield. Moving on to the mids now, and clarity is the name of the game in the mid-range. Everything just sounds clean. Both male and female vocals are beautifully rendered with a real sense of presence and intimacy, great articulation, and the planar driver's inherent speed really shines in the mid-range too. Transients are crisp. It gives percussion instruments that snappy attack that you want, and electric guitars have got plenty of bite and plenty of crunch. Resolution is top-notch in the mid-range. It pulls out all those little details that can often get lost in the mix in complex passages. The upper mids have a nice bit of energy to them, keeping things lively, but thankfully they stop short of becoming shouty or fatiguing, so there's no boxiness or nasality in the upper mids. It's a well balanced and a highly resolving mid-range, and it just complements the rest of the frequency response nicely. Up top, the treble continues that trend of impressive clarity that we get from these, and it's nice and crisp and precise, but it's got a welcome smoothness as well. So there's no harshness, there's no sibilance in the treble. Definitely a big plus in my book. And the treble plays a role in creating that impressive soundstage width that we talked about before, which adds a sense of air and openness. Detail retrieval is pretty good. It's not on the level of microscopic detail in the stock or the default tuning, but if you dial back the bass with the EQ a bit, those finer nuances start to emerge quite nicely. But still, the micro detail retrieval is still a little bit meh, but I will say it's better in Bluetooth mode and USB-C mode than it is with the wired 3.5mm. You get a little bit of extra detail retrieval in Bluetooth and USB-C. But it's really impressive how airy and light the treble is, yet it manages to maintain a good sense of stability or note density. It never feels thin or brittle. It's a well-judged treble. It's perfectly balanced against that enhanced bass, and it adds a nice bit of sparkle and clarity to the mids, and it sort of just ties everything together nicely. Alright, I'm going to do a quick comparison now, and what I'm comparing it with is the Master and Dynamic MG20. Now, I am unapologetically a huge fan of the MG20. I think it's a much underrated headphone. It didn't seem to get much traction in the audiophile scene, but in my opinion, it really deserves it. It comes in considerably cheaper. It's $449 compared to $649, so $200 cheaper, yet it's got the same kind of quality premium feel to it. It's also got Alcantara under the headband. It's got magnesium ear cups, and on top of that, it's also got a much lower profile and just smaller in general. However, they feel, well, when we look at the ear cups here, you can see the Master and Dynamic just ever so slightly narrower, but it feels pretty much the same to me. I would actually think that the MG20 here is just slightly more comfortable than the Noble. So the MG20 is marketed as a gaming headset, which is possibly why it didn't gain as much traction as it deserves. It also comes with an excellent boom microphone, which has great sound quality. But the thing that makes this a really great gaming headset is that it comes with a 2.4 gigahertz wireless dongle. So you plug that into your PC and turn them on. It connects automatically. Suddenly you've got almost zero latency wireless gaming. So if you're a really serious gamer, I think that's the way to go. Like, these are great for gaming. The Noble is great for gaming too, but you have to be wired. You can't do competitive gaming over Bluetooth. If it had a 2.4 gigahertz wireless dongle, that would be another story, but it does not. But anyway, as far as audio quality goes, look, the MG20 has 50mm beryllium dynamic drivers compared to the Apollo's 40mm driver. So the MG20 can absolutely match the Apollo's driver in bass, impact, and authority. Actually, I think it's got a little bit more depth to the bass on the MG20, whereas the Apollo's bass is just a little bit more upfront. And the MG20 has a warmer, slightly thicker presentation, but it's got a more organic and cohesive quality to it. It's a, single dynamic, sounds very natural and organic. It actually has two sound modes as well. See that little button there? It's got a regular mode, and then it's got a 7.1 surround mode. And if you engage that 7.1 surround, it can actually match the width of the Apollo's stage, which is very impressive, and it actually can surpass the Apollo in detail retrieval. So the MG20, with that, in that 7.1 mode has better micro detail retrieval than the Apollo, but for the most part, if I wasn't gaming, I would keep that 7.1 off. It just doesn't sound quite right when you're listening to music some of the time. Not always. It's great for electronic music, but especially live music and acoustic and rock and things like that, it sounds better with the 7.1 surround off. But in that regular mode, I actually think that the MG20 is closer to neutral compared to the Apollo, which has a more V-shaped and colored sound. So that brings us back to the Noble FoKus Apollo. Is it worth the money? You know what? It kind of is. These do sound amazing. They sound probably as good as any regular headphone you would get in that price. Maybe not quite. But if you're talking wireless, if you're talking Bluetooth audio, these are among the best I've heard. They sound absolutely fantastic in Bluetooth mode, especially if you're using LDAC. They're versatile with those 3 connectivity options. You get a beautiful package, a really nice case. The build and the materials are exquisite. And yeah, I think this is a great headphone. Recommend it if you're looking for an mid-tier or high-tier wireless headphone. Check these out for sure. Anyway, wrapping it up there. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, Pa Family Audiophile style. Hey, if you're new here, consider hitting that subscribe button before you go. And until next time, I'll see you later.